Hey everyone, welcome back. After a long summer break, we are back to our monthly podcast with Work Matters. Hope you had a good summer, and we are now looking forward to resuming these podcasts on a regular basis. We've gotten really good feedback as you've gotten to know your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, fellow members here at the Bible Church, and gotten a little bit of a taste of what God is doing in their lives and through their work, through their vocations to further the kingdom of God right here in the Triangle. Well, now that we are back, I am thrilled, and as many of you are aware, school is about to go back in session. As we are filming this, my kids are starting school this week. So by the time you see this, I imagine that most kids would be in school already. Universities are about to begin as well. So I thought it'd be very appropriate for us to have someone in the education sector. And I am thrilled to have Jill Huffman here with us. Jill, thank you for making time to join us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's my last day before we go back to school.
Woohoo! Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big honor, because I know tomorrow is going to be a big day for you. God bless you and all the teachers. So Jill, would love to just start off with a little bit of background, just so we can get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about your story. Where did you grow up, and how did you end up here in the Triangle area?
Well, I grew up a number of places. We moved around quite a bit. My dad was an editorial cartoonist, so he moved around to different papers. And but we landed in North Carolina, and I met my husband at Appalachian State University, and we stayed there and raised our 4 kids. And once we were empty nesters, we moved here 6 years ago.
And you were mentioning to me that what brought you here was?
My daughter, Amy Huffman, goes to our church, and she's a single mom, and we moved here to support her 6 years ago, and it's been a joy being a part of our grandson's life.
Yeah, and Amy was a part of this podcast several months ago, so you're starting a little family monopoly here.
Yeah, we're very proud of Amy.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Jill, when did you become a Christian, and how did that happen?
I've been a Christian since I was 17 years old, and it was at a time when there was some crisis in our family, and my parents had us in youth group, and at that time I made the decision to follow Jesus. Wow. And have been ever since.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I became a Christian in high school as well. And so did my wife. And I think that's one of the things that actually attracted me to youth ministry for 10 years that I did up until 2012.
That's a long time.
Yeah. It was good. It was a good season. But I'm thankful for younger blood that is running with that now. Mm-hmm. So you guys moved here 2015, and you were mentioning prior to moving, of course, you would come to visit Amy, and so you were familiar with the Bible Church already. So you moved here, and what about the Bible Church, in addition to to Amy and your grandson being here? What about it has kept you here and kept you connected with us?
Well, it was very similar to our church alliance in Boone, and my husband and I have always been drawn to expository teaching and a Bible, a church that is rich in fellowship. There's life group, and life groups are a lifeblood to us right now. And it's, it just felt like stepping into comfortable shoes moving here. Oh, we had been visiting for a number of years, and we knew that when we moved here, we would have a church home.
Well, and it's been awesome having you guys here. So thankful that it worked out. Well, let's transition into your profession. You are, as I've already mentioned in the introduction, you're an educator. How long have you been teaching for?
I'm in my 21st year.
Okay.
I actually had the privilege of staying at home with my kids for a good part of their formative life. And when my youngest one entered kindergarten is when I went into the workforce.
Okay.
And so I've been teaching for 21 years. All of it has been with in a either K-8 configuration or K-5. That's kindergarten through fifth grade. So,
And why did you choose to go into teaching?
well, it was kind of my dad. As I said earlier, he was an artist, and my mother was an educator. And I don't think I had much choice. It was all true genetics. My dad was the type that, I would ask him how to draw, and he was old school where, kind of the intern will watch me for 7 years and you might learn. And my mother was always trying to break it down into steps and processes. So, and I remember that. I remember when I went to college, I was an art major originally. And then I figured out my passion was art education. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. The daughter of an artist and an educator becomes an art educator. Right?
Right. And what's really funny is I have a cousin in Michigan, and he's an art teacher as well.
Okay.
So it's genetics.
So is there a particular type of art that you say is kind of like your favorite?
Well, for elementary school, you throw a broad net. I mean, you want to capture their interest. So whatever it is, all kids love clay, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do love hand building a lot. I love using the kiln and doing that. Kids love to paint. I love to teach different techniques with it. I try to find their interest and what's relevant at the time and combine the two. So, in a high school curriculum, that's a more meatier curriculum, and you can go into more technical ways of teaching art. But with the elementary, it's more simplified. In the middle school, you build on skills.
But do you have a personal thing that you just love to do? Is it pottery? Is it drawing, painting?
Well, I was a fiber artist was my concentration. And so when you say fiber artist, it's really just combining a lot of different mediums, handmade paper, fabrics, collage. So I'm more of a mixed media. I do like to paint.
That's amazing. So I mean, you could say I'm artistic in a musical sense, but I am not artistic at all in a creating that kind of stuff, painting, drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should come to one of your classes and hang out with you and the kids and learn, but I've never been good at that stuff.
Yeah, art therapy.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be good. I did do some clay. Actually, my parents did put me in some kind of art therapy when I was much younger in Brazil, and I did a lot of pottery stuff, and I did enjoy that.
Yeah, the tactile nature of clay, kids just love it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we'll get the clay out and I'll say, punch it, get that aggression out.
Well, that's good. Yeah, better than doing that on a fellow classmate, right?
Right.
So you teach at Cedar Fork Elementary at
Mm-hmm.
RTP, right? So you've been there about 6 years. So you're starting, I guess, your 6th year now, teaching there K-5. What do you as a Christian, as an artist, as an educator, how does that all come together for you?
Well, I'll go ahead and say, the population that I teach at Cedar Fork is very diverse. Primarily Southeast Asian children, and we have a large population. when I first started teaching there, it was more than 1,000. Now we're down to right at 800, but there's a lot of students from the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia. So it's a diverse population that brings so many different cultures together. And but then at the end of the day, kids are kids, regardless of where they're from. And so I just teaching art, I love the content. I love the creativity and the outside of the box thinking that just art making brings to a child, and the exploration and the curiosity. And I try to meet the kids where they are as kids. And by offering a medium and a chance to be in a classroom that's different than any other class that they go to.
Yeah.
So and I want it to be that place for them that they can talk and that they can have community with each other while problem solving, while creating, while, making something that they're proud of, while working through challenges and having something, at the end of the day to bring home. So did I answer your question? I'm not sure if I did.
Well, I think you did in part. What I'm really curious to hear you talk about is, I know you were part of Triangle Fellows. Was it just this past year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
year.
From an integration of faith into art, into education, how do you see all of that working out? I think you hinted at some of those things, but I'd love for you to expound on that a little bit more for us.
In my field, especially, for the longest time, I felt like my work was being an advocate for the arts, saying that it matters, and trying to prove to admin and to the powers that be and to the parents and everything, why is art important? And because there was a time when art was going to be taken off the table.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so going into Triangle Fellows, I felt like that's my work. And I even thought, well, that's going to be what my cultural project is going to be about. And then as I was going through the program, I realized, well, that my work matters, but that why not create something that matters in the lives of the students rather than saying that art matters in general. And so again, it's getting at the, my purposes, and my purpose is more a vessel of helping these students find something that matters to them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
wonderful. It was a major shift for me, Roddy, especially in my final project.
Yeah. I keep thinking about too. I think it was C.S. Lewis. I think, whenever you're trying to quote somebody and you're not sure who it was, just say it was C.S. Lewis. Odds are he said something similar to that, right? But I think it was C.S. Lewis who talked about how something like the rose itself isn't beautiful, but what you're seeing is God's beauty being displayed through the rose. And I think of art in the same way. Of when we look at beautiful art, we're really looking at God's glory being displayed through that medium, and just thinking about the creative nature of God, and that as his image bearers, that we get to participate in that, and people like you who are artistically gifted get to remind us of that. And I'm so glad that I remember those conversations about art being defunded and being removed from curricula. And man, what a boring world we would have without art. So I'm really thankful that you're working with young minds and young hands to help develop passion and talent for that. That's really beautiful. Yeah, I have a cousin who's an artist in South Carolina. He teaches at the University of South Carolina in the art program, and yeah, and he's done work. I mean, his work has gone, New York, Basel. I mean, he's been everywhere, which is really, really fun. So I look at his stuff and I'm like, how in the world did you come up with that? It's really amazing. So I have a lot of respect for artists. You mentioned your cultural renewal project. Will you explain really quickly what a cultural renewal project is in Triangle Fellows, and then tell us about what you're doing for yours?
Well, I think in a nutshell, it's looking at something with the question, what if? And first of all, we went through this whole process of identifying things in our workplace that are broken, and then narrowing it down, whittling it down, and asking the redemptive question, what if? And really pushing it. What would it be if, in a perfect scenario, in a perfect world, how would you address this? And then coming up with action steps, and then realizing too that we do live in a broken world, and then sometimes, and that as I said, you have to narrow it down and figure out what's realistic and what's doable, while still maintaining a high goal of what you would like. And my question, do you want me just to go ahead and
go for it? Yeah, tell us about your project.
All right. So my as I said, I thought that initially it would be in advocacy and creating some sort of a platform for art teachers, or I really didn't know. But then it came about in February when the county office, the superintendent's office, sent out a letter and really wanted us to be sensitive to Art History Month, and given everything that was happening in the news at the time. And I always try to integrate. I'm really big at integrating different content into my art lessons, but I particularly wanted to find some Black history lessons to teach. And when I started doing the dive into looking for lessons, the resources just weren't there. I mean, and it's just been like the same lessons that have been there for the last 10 years, and they weren't really good lessons. And so I had to really dig deep to find a lot of information about Black artists. And then so I contacted a friend of mine that is a Black art teacher, and I asked her, is this just me? And that I can't find it. And she said, you're so right. It's not there. And so as I started to put together lessons for all different grade levels, I just thought, that's something I can do. I can write lessons, write a curriculum that addresses my content, my standards, different mediums from different Black artists, different techniques, different history, different types of genre in art. And I can teach everything that I do right now while representing the voices of Black artists and minorities. And I'm real excited about it. But the greater issue is that what had happened is since American art has been defined Black people were still making art all that time, but for some reason or other, it wasn't represented by the curators that brought it. And so, consequently, in what defined the canons of American art, it's not there. And so it trickled down into art education. So it's a big void, but I'm excited to find partners that will help me in writing a curriculum. I desire to write a K-8 art curriculum.
And how's that coming? Have you had any traction with that yet? Is it still kind of in the ideation mode?
I initially contacted the North Carolina Museum of Art, and they just immediately wrote back. And they're in the process right now of changing their whole collection to address this issue. And so we're kind of semi-formed a partnership where if they send me some artists, that I will write some lessons for them. But ultimately, I don't think they have the same vision of where I want to go for this. But I think that it's always good to have the North Carolina Museum of Art as a at least a resource.
Yes.
So, and I've reached out to a couple of art teachers, like I said, my one friend, that will act as support. They don't necessarily have the time to devote towards the work that would be involved in it.
So if somebody who is watching this or listening to this, if they're really excited about what they're hearing and they want to say, man, Joe, how can I help you? What would you say to them?
This is in a conceptual stage right now. And I know that I have certain skill set. I can write a curriculum and it would be good. But I don't know marketing. I don't know how to find a publisher. I don't know how, and there's things that I don't know that I don't know.
Yeah.
And especially people that are in the startup world, barriers that are out there that I would be unfamiliar with.
Yeah, that's really good. So if you're watching this and what Jill was talking about is something that excites you and you have any of those skills in publishing, editing, marketing, all of that kind of stuff, reach out to me and I'll be happy to connect you with Jill. I think it'd be a great way for us as Christians to partner with each other to bring about cultural renewal. Well, Jill, thank you so much for your time. This is really exciting. I am really hopeful and excited about this project that you're working on. I'd love to see it come to fruition and be in the hands of teachers and students. And you're right, it is such a void and a vacuum in our system, and it needs to be addressed because there's so much beauty, so much richness that we are not being exposed to currently. And I'm so thankful that the person who is driving this, at least here in North Carolina, is not only a Christian but a member of our church.
Thanks.
That is really exciting. So, well, Lord bless you as you start.
Thank you.
Again, as people are watching this, you have started school already. But as we're recording, you're just a few hours away from day one, and pray the Lord's blessing over you and over your students, and pray that as you teach them to do art, that you would be reminded of God's creative love for us, and that these students, that their minds, their imaginations would be awakened to that as well.
Well, thank you.